On a rainy night, a millionaire walks alone when a fragile voice cuts through the silence. "Sir, buy my doll. I need money to buy milk for my little brother." Looking at the soaked little beggar girl and her weakened brother, he's about to ignore them when his eyes fix on the faded pink bunny in her hands. A shock runs through his body. That toy is identical to the one he gave his late wife years ago. What he discovers next about these children will completely shake the foundations of his life and reveal a secret he never imagined possible. The rain lashed the streets of Midtown Manhattan on that June night. Michael Anderson pulled up the collar of his Italian coat, trying to shield himself from the drops that felt like icy needles against his skin. The restaurant where he'd dined with Beatrice was only 2 blocks from where he'd parked his car, but that short walk was becoming an ordeal. At 52, Michael had built an empire in the construction industry. His company, Anderson Construction, was one of the largest in the country. But that night, as he walked alone on the wet sidewalk, he wasn't the powerful businessman everyone knew. He was just a man trying to move on after losing Helena, his wife, 6 months ago. Dinner with Beatrice had been a disaster. She talked too much, laughed too loudly, wore cloying perfume. She wasn't Helena. No one would ever be Helena. Michael had only agreed to the date because his sister had insisted it was time to resume his social life. Now all he wanted was to get home, take a hot shower, and forget this night. That's when he heard it. A small voice, almost swallowed by the roar of the rain. Mister, please." Michael kept walking, accustomed to ignoring panhandlers on the streets, but the voice came again, closer. "Mister, buy my doll, I really need it." Something in that voice made him stop. He turned slowly, and his heart skipped a beat. There, soaked by the rain, was a girl who couldn't have been more than 5 years old. Her dark hair clung to her thin face, and her clothes, visibly too large, dripped water. But it wasn't the girl who took Michael's breath away. It was what she held in her trembling hands, a faded pink stuffed bunny. "It's only $50, mister," the girl said, holding the toy out to him. "My little brother's sick, he needs milk." Michael couldn't tear his eyes from the bunny. It was identical to the one he had given Helena the day he met her, 25 years ago. The same shade of pink, the same ribbon around its neck, even the small patch on its left ear. It was impossible for another one like it to exist. Where did you get this?" he asked, his voice hoarse. The girl stepped back, frightened by his reaction. It was then that Michael noticed a movement in the shadows. Behind a soaked cardboard box, a small boy, no more than 2, shivered violently. He was lying on wet newspapers, his face flushed with fever. "My mommy gave it to me," the girl replied, clutching the bunny to her chest. "She said it was special, that it was a gift from someone very important." Michael felt his legs weaken. With trembling fingers, he pulled his phone from his pocket and called his driver, who was always on call. "David, get to Lexington Avenue near 57th Street. Now." While he waited, he tried to approach the boy, but the girl placed herself in front of him protectively. "I'm not going to hurt you," Michael said, trying to soften his usually authoritative voice. "Your brother needs a doctor." The girl hesitated, looking from her brother to Michael, from the bunny to the dark street. The rain continued to fall, mercilessly. "What's your name?" Michael asked. "Sophia," she answered softly. "And he's—" "Lucas." Michael's black sedan pulled up to the curb. David got out quickly with an umbrella, but stopped short when he saw the scene. "Sophia," Michael said, kneeling on the wet sidewalk, unconcerned about his Italian slacks. "I'm going to take you to a safe place. Your brother needs help." The girl clutched the bunny even tighter, her large eyes filled with fear and suspicion. Michael realized she was about to run. "Wait," he said, taking his wallet from his pocket. "I'll buy your bunny. Whatever you want for it." Sophia looked at her feverish, trembling brother, then at the toy in her arms. A tear rolled down her face, mixing with the rain. "It was Mommy's," she whispered. "It's the only thing I have left of her." Michael felt something break inside him. That bunny, those children in the rain, the mention of an absent mother. There was something wrong here, something that made his heart beat erratically. "You can keep him," he said finally, "but please, let me help you." Sophia looked at her brother once more and finally nodded. Michael picked Lucas up, startled by how hot he was. The boy barely stirred, semi-conscious. As David opened the car door, Michael couldn't imagine that this moment, this encounter in the rain, with two children and a pink bunny, was about to reveal secrets he had buried in the past. Secrets that would change his life forever. The nearest private hospital was 10 minutes away. During the ride, Michael couldn't take his eyes off the pink bunny Sophia clutched so tightly. The coincidences were too unsettling. The identical toy, the children's ages, something in the shape of the girl's face that seemed strangely familiar. "Where are you taking us?" Sophia asked, her small voice barely hiding her fear. "To a hospital. Your brother is very sick," Michael replied, trying to keep his voice calm as he held Lucas, who trembled in his arms. When they arrived at the emergency room, a medical team quickly took charge of the boy. Sophia refused to let go of her brother's hand, and the doctors, sensing her distress, allowed her to accompany him during the initial procedures. Michael watched through the glass of the ER, his restless hands adjusting his already disheveled tie. That's when he sensed a presence beside him. "Are you responsible for these children?" The woman who asked the question wore a simple blazer and carried a folder. Her brown eyes analyzed him with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. "My name is Regina Wallace. I'm the on-call social worker," she continued before he could answer. "We need to talk about how these children came to be here." Michael explained the encounter in the rain, but the more he spoke, the more he realized how implausible the story sounded. A millionaire businessman picking up children off the street after a failed date. "I understand your concern, Ms. Wallace," he said, "but right now, the important thing is the boy's health." "Lucas," Regina corrected, consulting her notes, "and the girl is Sophia. They were found wandering the streets 3 weeks ago. They were under the care of the New Dawn shelter, but disappeared 2 days ago." Michael felt his stomach drop. "What do you mean, disappeared?" "They ran away during the night. Sophia left a note saying she needed to find someone important." Regina stared at him more intensely. "That's why I need to understand exactly how you found them." Before Michael could answer, a doctor came out of the ER. His face was grave. "His condition is serious," he informed them. "The boy has severe pneumonia, aggravated by exposure to cold and malnutrition. We'll need to admit him." "Do whatever is necessary," Michael said immediately. "I'll cover all the costs." Regina frowned. "Mr. Anderson, I appreciate your generosity, but I must remind you that these children are wards of the state. Any decision regarding them needs to go through the proper channels." Michael felt irritation rise. He was used to being in control, to making things happen with a phone call. But here, facing this plain-looking social worker, his power seemed insignificant. Sophia came out of the room at that moment, her eyes red from crying. Seeing Michael, she ran towards him and, to everyone's surprise, hugged his legs. "Don't let them take Lucas away again," she begged. "Please, mister. Mommy said the prince would help us one day." Michael froze. "Prince?" His voice came out as a whisper. That's how he used to introduce himself to Helena when they first started dating, joking that he was her Prince Charming. It was a private joke between them, something no one else knew. Regina approached Sophia gently. "Honey, what's this about a prince?" The girl clutched the pink bunny to her chest. Mommy always said a prince gave her this bunny, that one day he would come back to help us. Michael felt the world spin. He had to lean against the wall to keep from falling. Sophia's words, the bunny, the dates, everything was starting to form a picture he didn't want, couldn't believe. "Mr. Anderson?" Regina's voice seemed to come from far away. "Are you all right?" He didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on Sophia, who still clung to his legs. On the girl's face, now clean from the street grime, he could see Helena's unmistakable features. "I need to make some calls," he said finally, his voice trembling, "and I need someone to look through the shelter's records." What was the full name of these children's mother? Regina consulted her folder again. "We don't have that information. The children were found with only the bunny and a small backpack. There were no documents." Michael pulled out his phone, his hands shaking so much he could barely hold it. He needed to call Charles, Helena's brother. He needed to know the truth that was beginning to dawn on him, a truth that threatened to destroy everything he thought. He knew about his past. The hospital corridor was quiet at that late hour. Michael sat on one of the plastic chairs, his phone still in hand, gathering the courage to make the call that could change everything. Sophia had finally fallen asleep. In the nearby armchair, the pink bunny held tightly against her chest. "Charles, I need to talk to you. It's urgent." Michael's voice came out firmer than he expected. 20 minutes later, Charles walked through the automatic doors of the hospital. Seeing Michael, his face paled. "What happened?" he asked. But his eyes had already found Sophia and the bunny. Michael watched his brother-in-law's reaction. The way he stopped abruptly, how his eyes widened in recognition, how his hands began to tremble. It was all the confirmation he needed. "How long have you known?" Michael asked, his voice low and dangerous. Charles slumped into a chair. "Michael, How long?" Michael repeated, each word heavy with restrained fury. "Since the beginning," Charles finally answered, running his hands over his tired face. "Helena made me promise I wouldn't tell." The silence that followed was deafening. Michael looked at a sleeping Sophia, at her dark hair like Edna's, at the small nose that so closely resembled his own. "Why?" was all he could manage. Charles took his wallet from his pocket and removed an old, creased photo. "She tried to tell you, Michael, more than once." The photo showed a pregnant, smiling Helena holding the pink bunny. The date on the back? March 15th, 2018. "You were too busy with the company merger," Charles continued. "When she finally got your attention, you said kids weren't part of your plans, that they'd slow down your goals." The words hit Michael like a punch. He remembered that conversation, but it had just been a theoretical discussion about children. Hadn't it? Helena hadn't mentioned being pregnant, had she? "She went to live with our mother upstate," Charles went on. "She planned to raise the children alone, but then..." "Then what?" Michael demanded, though a part of him already knew the answer. "There were complications with the birth. Helena..." Charles's voice broke. "She didn't make it. Our mother took the kids in, but 3 months ago she also..." Michael couldn't hear the rest. A ringing filled his ears as fragments of memory assaulted him. Helena trying to talk during breakfast, him cutting her off to take an important call. Helena coming home early from work, wanting to discuss something serious, him leaving for an unmissable meeting. Helena crying when he said children would only get in the way of his life. "Why now?" Michael asked, his voice broken. "Why did they show up right now?" Charles hesitated. "The neighbor who was looking after them after Mom passed, she abandoned them. Sophia must have found a picture of you in the newspaper, or maybe..." "The bunny!" Michael completed. "Helena told her the story of the bunny." At that moment, Sophia stirred in the armchair, her eyes slowly opening. Seeing Charles, she sat up, startled. "Uncle Charles?" Her small voice was full of confusion. Michael felt as if all the air had been sucked out of the room. Sophia knew Charles. It was all true. "Hi, Princess," Charles replied, his voice choked with emotion. "You found him. You found Mommy's prince." Sophia looked from Charles to Michael, her large eyes filling with understanding. "You're him? The prince who gave Mommy the bunny?" Michael couldn't answer. His hands were trembling so much he had to press them against his knees. The pain in his chest was physical, as if his heart were being crushed. A nurse appeared in the hallway. "Mr. Anderson, the doctor wants to talk about Lucas's condition." Michael stood up mechanically, his legs heavy as lead. Before he could take a step, he felt a small hand take his. "I want to know about my little brother too," Sophia said, still clutching the bunny with her other arm. Little brother, his son, his children. Michael gently squeezed the small hand in his palm, unable to process the torrent of emotions consuming him. Somewhere in the hospital, Lucas fought against pneumonia, unaware that his father was there. A father who, through his own arrogance and obsession with work, had missed the first 5 years of their lives. And Helena had died alone, taking with her a secret that now threatened to shatter what little was left of Michael's heart. The doctor awaited them in his office, his tense face reflecting the gravity of the situation. Michael still held Sophia's hand as he sat down, Charles remaining standing near the door. "The pneumonia is in an advanced stage," the doctor began, adjusting his glasses. "Additionally, we've discovered Lucas has a congenital heart condition that needs to be monitored." Michael felt Sophia squeeze his hand tighter. "But he's going to be okay, isn't he, doctor?" the girl asked, her voice trembling. The doctor smiled gently at her. "We're doing everything possible, dear. Your brother is a fighter." Fighter, like Helena, Michael thought, feeling his eyes burn. If she were alive, she would have taken care of the children, would have noticed Lucas's symptoms before they got so bad. "What are the next steps?" Michael asked, trying to maintain his composure. "We'll need to keep him hospitalized for at least 2 weeks. The heart condition complicates the pneumonia treatment, so we need to be extremely cautious." Regina, the social worker, chose that moment to enter the room. Her gaze fell on Sophia's hand intertwined with Michael's, and her expression hardened. "Mr. Anderson, I need to speak with you privately," she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. In the hallway, Regina wasted no time on pleasantries. "Did you know about these children all along?" "No," Michael replied, running a hand through his graying hair. "I just found out. They're my children." Regina crossed her arms. "And you expect me to believe you never knew of their existence? One of the most powerful businessmen in the country, their mother." Michael swallowed hard. "My wife passed away in childbirth. She never told me she was pregnant." "Convenient," Regina commented, her voice laced with skepticism. "And now that you found out, what do you intend to do?" "They're my children," Michael repeated, as if those words could erase 5 years of absence. "I'm going to take care of them, give them everything they need." "It's not that simple," Regina retorted. "You have no documentation proving paternity, and even if you did, you'd need to go through psychological evaluations, home visits, prove you're fit to raise 2 children. Fit?" Michael almost laughed. "I own one of the biggest construction companies in the country." "I'm not talking about financial fitness," Regina cut in. "I'm talking about emotional availability, time, the ability to put these children's needs above your own." The words hit Michael like a slap. Wasn't it precisely his lack of emotional availability that had put them in this situation? Before he could respond, they heard a cry from the room where Lucas was. Sophia ran out of the doctor's office. "Lucas! Lucas is crying!" Michael ran after her, his heart pounding. In the room, Lucas had woken up and was crying desperately, trying to pull out the tubes and wires connected to his small body. "Little brother, calm down." Sophia jumped onto the bed, still holding the pink bunny. "Look, I brought Pinky for you." To everyone's surprise, Lucas stopped crying when he saw the toy. Sophia placed the bunny beside him on the bed, and the boy immediately hugged it, his feverish eyes fixing on his sister's face. "Tell the story of the prince," he asked, his voice hoarse and weak. Michael felt his legs give way. It was the first time he had heard his son's voice. Sophia settled on the bed, assuming a solemn air that seemed absurdly adult for her 5 years. Once upon a time, there was a very beautiful princess who worked in a big company. One day, she met a prince who gave her this pink bunny. Michael leaned against the wall, tears now streaming freely down his face. It was his story with Helena, preserved and passed on through that faded bunny. Regina watched the scene from the doorway, her face an unreadable mask. But when Lucas extended his free hand towards Michael, calling him with a faint, "Come here," even she couldn't hold back her emotion. Michael approached the bed as if in a trance. He sat on the edge, and Lucas, still holding the bunny, rested his head on his lap. "Continue the story, Sophia," the boy asked, his eyes already heavy with sleep. Sophia smiled, a smile that was impossibly like Helena's. The prince didn't know, but the princess had a secret. She was going to have 2 babies, a boy and a girl. Michael closed his eyes, letting his daughter's voice fill the room. In his lap, Lucas breathed with difficulty, but he was calm. The pink bunny, a silent witness to so many secrets, rested between father and son, as if it had always been there, waiting for this moment. The early morning hours found Michael still at the hospital, his suit rumpled and his tie long abandoned. On a chair, Sophia slept curled up in his lap, while Lucas breathed with difficulty in the hospital bed. The pink bunny remained clutched in the boy's fingers. Michael's secretary had already called 3 times. There was an important meeting with Chinese investors scheduled for 9 o'clock, something he had been planning for months. On any other day, nothing in the world would have made him miss this appointment. "Cancel everything," he instructed curtly over the phone, "and prepare the paperwork for my indefinite leave of absence." On the other end of the line, Marcia, who had worked with him for 15 years, was silent for a few seconds. "Michael, is everything all right?" He looked at the 2 children, his children, and felt his throat tighten. "No, Marcia, it's not, but it will be." The doctor entered the room for the first assessment of the day. Lucas's fever was high again, and his heartbeat was irregular. Michael watched helplessly as the medical team adjusted medications and checked monitors. "Dad?" Sophia's sleepy voice surprised him. It was the first time she had called him that. "Yes, Princess?" he replied, the word coming naturally. "I'm hungry." Michael realized the girl probably hadn't eaten properly in days. His heart ached at the thought of his children wandering the streets, starving, while he dined in expensive restaurants. "I'll get you something to eat," he said. But when he tried to stand up, Sophia grabbed his shirt. "Don't go," she pleaded, fear evident in her eyes. "Everyone leaves." "I'll be right back," Michael promised, his voice choked. "I swear on the pink bunny." Sophia hesitated for a moment, then nodded solemnly. "Pinky doesn't let anyone lie." In the hallway, Michael found Regina talking to Charles. The social worker looked exhausted, but her gaze remained sharp. "We've already started searching the records," she informed him. "We need the children's birth certificates and—" She stopped when she saw Charles's expression. "You won't find them," he said softly. "Helena registered the children under her name only. That's what she wanted." Michael felt as if he'd been punched in the stomach. "Then how will I prove they're my children?" "There's a DNA test," Regina replied. "But even so, the custody process won't be simple. You're practically a stranger to them." "He's their father," Charles intervened. A father who was never present, Regina countered, who by your own admission didn't even know of their existence until yesterday. Michael closed his eyes, feeling the weight of every word. It was true. What kind of man doesn't realize his wife is pregnant? What kind of husband is so engrossed in meetings and contracts that he doesn't notice when the woman he loves is carrying his children? The sound of violent coughing from the room interrupted his thoughts. Lucas had woken up and was struggling to breathe. Sophia, still holding the pink bunny, was crying beside the bed. "He's just like Grandma was," she sobbed. "Don't let him go." "Away too!" Michael rushed into the room, his heart thundering in his chest. The medical team was already in action, placing an oxygen mask on Lucas's small face. "Sophia, come here," he called, holding out his arms. To his surprise, the girl ran to him immediately, burying her face in his chest. Michael hugged her tightly, whispering words of comfort he didn't even know he knew. "Mr. Anderson," the doctor called after a few tense minutes. "We need to talk. Lucas's heart condition is worsening faster than we anticipated." Michael felt the world spin. "What does that mean?" "It means we need to consider emergency surgery," the doctor explained. "But with the pneumonia, the risk is very high." Sophia clutched the bunny tighter, her large eyes fixed on the doctor. "Lucas is going to get better, right? Mommy is watching over him from heaven." The doctor smiled sadly. "We'll do our best, dear, but—" He turned to Michael. "We need your authorization for the procedures." "My authorization?" Michael repeated. "But I don't have custody of them yet." Regina, who had been watching from the doorway, stepped forward. "In this case, given the emergency of the situation and with strong indications of paternity, I can issue a temporary authorization." Michael looked at Lucas, so small and fragile in the hospital bed, at Sophia in his arms, and at the pink bunny that had started it all. It was time to be the father his children needed. "Do whatever is necessary," he told the doctor. "I'm not going to lose my son, not again." The surgical wing seemed even colder and more impersonal in the dead of night. Michael paced the waiting room, his footsteps echoing in the empty corridor. Lucas's surgery had already lasted 4 hours. Sophia had finally fallen asleep in one of the armchairs, still clutching the pink bunny. Before Lucas was taken to surgery, she had insisted on lending the toy to her brother. "Pinky will take care of him in there," she'd said, with the unique wisdom of a 5-year-old. "Just like he took care of me and him when Grandma went to heaven." Now, watching his daughter sleep, Michael noticed more and more details that reminded him of Helena. The way she frowned in her sleep, how she twirled a lock of hair between her fingers. They were gestures so familiar they ached. "Thought you might like some coffee." Michael turned to find Regina holding out a disposable cup. He accepted with a nod, surprised by the gesture. "You know," she began, sitting in a nearby chair, "in 15 years as a social worker, I've learned to recognize when someone is pretending to care about a child. You're not pretending." Michael took a sip of coffee, letting the warm liquid soothe his tight throat. "I always wanted children," he admitted softly, so as not to wake Sophia. "But I was so focused on building an empire, I thought there was time." "And Helena, what was she like?" The question caught Michael off guard. He closed his eyes, letting the memories come. "She had this way of looking at simple things as if they were magical," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "She kept movie stubs, dried leaves, little mementos of moments I didn't even realize were special." He paused, swallowing the lump in his throat. "The pink bunny. I bought it from a street vendor the day I met her. She was late for a meeting. With me, all flustered, and that toy made her smile." Regina listened in silence, her face softening for the first time since they'd met. "After she—" Michael couldn't complete the sentence. "I looked for that bunny everywhere. I wanted to have something of hers to hold. I never imagined that he would find you through your children," Regina completed softly. At that moment, Sophia stirred in the armchair, murmuring something in her sleep. Michael immediately went to her, adjusting the coat he had placed over her shoulders. "She hasn't left her brother's side for a minute since we found them on the street," Regina observed. "That's a strength few adults possess." "Just like her mother," Michael whispered, stroking his daughter's hair. The surgeon chose that moment to appear in the waiting room. His face was tired, but there was a small smile on his lips. "The surgery was a success," he announced before Michael could even ask. "The heart defect was more complex than we initially thought, but we managed to correct it. Now we monitor his recovery and hope the pneumonia responds better to treatment." Michael felt his legs weaken. Regina quickly pulled over a chair, and he sank into it. "The bunny," he managed to say. "Is he still—" The surgeon smiled more broadly, pulling something from his lab coat pocket. It was the pink bunny, a little squashed but intact. "We don't normally allow personal items in the OR," he explained. "But your daughter was quite convincing about this one's magical powers." Sophia chose that moment to wake up. Seeing the doctor with the bunny in his hands, her eyes widened. "Lucas?" she asked, her small voice full of fear. "Your brother is very strong," the doctor replied, handing her the toy. "And he had excellent company during the surgery." Sophia hugged the bunny, then looked at Michael. "Can we see him?" "Soon," the doctor promised. "He needs to rest a little first." Michael pulled Sophia into his lap, and she came without hesitation, as if that had always been her place. "Dad," she called softly, "now that Lucas is going to be okay, do we have to go back to the shelter?" The question hit Michael like a thunderbolt. He looked at Regina, who watched the scene with moist eyes. "We still have a lot of work ahead of us," the social worker said, her voice gentler than Michael had ever heard it. "But if your father is willing to prove he can take care of you, that he can be the family you need—" "I will prove it," Michael interrupted, his voice firm. "No matter what it takes. They are my children, mine and Helena's, and I'm not going to lose another minute of their lives." Sophia squeezed the pink bunny between them, as if the toy could seal that promise. And maybe it could, Michael thought. After all, that little faded bunny had already performed the greatest miracle of all. It had brought his children back home. The days following Lucas's surgery completely transformed Michael's life. His luxurious office was exchanged for a hospital room. His important meetings gave way to conversations with doctors and nurses. The man who once measured success in millions now counted victories in small smiles and daily progress. "Look, Dad," Sophia exclaimed that morning, showing him a drawing she had made. "It's our family. There's me, Lucas, you, Pinky, and Mommy in heaven watching over us." Michael held the paper carefully, as if it were the most precious of documents. In the crayon drawing, an angelic figure hovered over 4 people and a pink bunny holding hands. "It's beautiful, Princess," he said, taping the drawing to the wall of the room next to Lucas's bed. The boy, still weak but improving every day, smiled when he saw his sister's art. "Make another one, Sophia. Make one of just Mommy with Pinky." Michael felt his heart clench. The children spoke of Helena so naturally, with so much love. While he had tried to bury his memories of her in work, a nurse came in to check Lucas's vitals. "Look who has rosier cheeks today," she commented cheerfully. "Soon he'll be running around." "When can he go home?" Sophia asked, for at least the 10th time that day. The word home made Michael freeze. Where would their home be? His penthouse apartment, professionally decorated to impress clients, was anything but welcoming for children. As if reading his thoughts, Regina appeared at the doorway. "Mr. Anderson, can we talk for a moment?" In the hallway, the social worker got straight to the point. The doctors say Lucas should be discharged in a week. We need to discuss arrangements. Michael nodded, running a hand through his graying hair. I've already started making changes to my apartment. I'm turning the study into Lucas's room, and the library will be Sophia's room. And your work? Regina asked. How do you plan to reconcile the presidency of a company your size with 2 children who need full-time attention? I've already spoken with the board, Michael replied. I'll be working from home most of the time. Marcia, my secretary, is reorganizing my entire schedule. Regina raised an eyebrow. The man who never missed a meeting is going to become a work-from-home executive. The only meetings I don't want to miss now are Lucas's doctor appointments and Sophia's future school. Meetings, he replied simply. Before Regina could answer, they heard a noise from the room. When they entered, they found Sophia trying to climb onto Lucas's bed. Sophia! Michael rushed to help her. Careful, honey, your brother is still recovering. But he wants to see Pinky's new trick, she explained, showing how she had taught the bunny to do somersaults. Lucas laughed, a sound that was still rare, but made the whole room seem brighter. Michael found himself laughing along, sitting on the edge of the bed, watching his children play. Regina cleared her throat softly. Mr. Anderson. Michael, he corrected. After everything, I think you can call me Michael. Michael, she continued, a small smile on her lips. We still have a lot of work ahead. Home visits, psychological evaluations, environmental suitability, whatever it takes, he replied, without taking his eyes off the children. But, Regina went on, I must admit, you're surprising me. When I first met you, I thought you were just another rich guy trying to clear his conscience. Michael finally looked at her. And now I see a father learning to be a father, she answered honestly. It's not perfect, but he's trying. And sometimes that's what children need most. Someone who tries, who learns, who is present. Sophia chose that moment to jump into Michael's lap, nearly knocking them both over. Dad, tell that story again, about how you met Mommy. Again? He feigned exasperation, but his smile betrayed him. Haven't I told it 3 times today? But Lucas was asleep last time, Sophia argued, and Pinky likes to hear it too. Michael settled his daughter on his lap, took the pink bunny she held out and began, Once upon a time, on a rainy day, very much like the day I found you. Regina watched the scene for another moment before silently leaving the room. In her folder, the preliminary custody evaluation report was already taking shape. There was still a long way to go, but for the first time since she had met Michael Anderson, she was sure those children were exactly where they were supposed to be. In the room, father and children remained lost in their story. The pink bunny. Between them, like a bridge between the past and the future, they were building together. The news broke on a Tuesday. Michael was helping Sophia with a new drawing when Marcia called, her voice tense on the other end of the line. Michael, you need to see the papers. It's everywhere. The headlines screamed in bold letters. Secret heirs, millionaire Michael Anderson hid children for years. The photos, taken at the hospital entrance, showed Michael carrying Sophia as she clutched the pink bunny. Charles is on his way over, Marcia continued. Beatrice, your, ex-girlfriend, gave an interview saying you dumped her to play daddy with children of dubious origin. Michael closed his eyes, a headache forming. Sophia, coloring intently, looked up. Dad, are you sad? The innocent question made his heart ache. How could he explain to a 5-year-old that the world outside was questioning his right to be her father? No, princess, he forced a smile, just thinking about some work stuff. Lucas, who was getting stronger every day, watched everything from his bed. Dad, he called softly, tell that part of Mommy's story again, when she saved Pinky from the rain. Michael sat between his children, grateful for the distraction. Well, that day it was raining really hard, like now. The bunny had fallen into a puddle and your mom... The door opened, interrupting the story. Charles entered, followed by Regina. Both looked concerned. "Michael," Charles began, "we need to talk. Outside." In the hallway, the news was even worse. Michael's ex-girlfriend's mother, a gossip columnist, was spreading rumors that he had intentionally abandoned his pregnant wife. "This could complicate the custody process," Regina warned, her voice serious. "Public opinion, to hell with public opinion." Michael exploded, but quickly lowered his voice when he saw Sophia peeking through the door. "Those are my children with Helena. I won't let anyone question that." "Then prove it," Regina challenged. "Not to me, not to the newspapers, but to them. Show them you're willing to face anything to be the father they deserve." Michael returned to the room where Sophia had climbed into bed with Lucas. The two were sharing the pink bunny, as they always did when they were scared. "Hey," he called softly, sitting on the edge of the bed. "How about I tell a new story today?" "New?" Sophia asked, curious. "But I like Mommy's story." "This one is also about Mommy," Michael assured her, pulling his daughter into his lap. "But it's a part I've never told anyone, about how foolish I was, so worried about building skyscrapers that I didn't see the most important thing right in front of me." Lucas scooted closer, still moving carefully because of his stitches. "What was it, Dad?" Michael swallowed hard, feeling tears well up. "The chance to be your father from the beginning, to see you born, Sophia, with those eyes just like your mother's. To hold you in my arms for the first time, Lucas, so small and strong like you are now." Sophia frowned, processing his words. "But why weren't you there?" "Because I was like those people in your cartoons," Michael tried to explain. "The ones who only think about work and money until something magical happens and they realize what's truly important." "And what's important?" Lucas asked, his voice sleepy. Michael hugged them both, feeling the pink bunny squeezed between them. "Family, son, love, being together, things your mother always knew but that I took a long time to learn." Regina, watching from the door, discreetly wiped away a tear. Charles had gone to deal with the press, but she remained, witnessing that moment. "Dad," Sophia called, her voice serious. "Don't be sad about people saying mean things." Pinky said, "You're our real dad, and he never lies." Michael laughed through his tears. "Pinky is very wise, isn't he?" "Yes," Lucas agreed excitedly. "He also said Mommy is happy because you found us." "No, son," Michael corrected gently. "We found you, or rather, you found us. You, your sister Pinky, you brought me back to life. You made me remember who I was before I got lost in contracts and meetings." Sophia picked up the bunny and made it dance in the air. "And now we're going to stay together forever." Michael looked at Regina, who nodded slightly. "Yes, Princess, forever. No matter what they say out there, no matter how many stories they invent. You are my children. You're the greatest gift your mother could have ever given me, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of that gift." The first visit to Michael's apartment happened on a sunny Sunday. Lucas had already been discharged, though he still needed special care, and Regina insisted on personally accompanying them. The private elevator opened directly into the penthouse, revealing a completely transformed environment. What was once an interior design showroom now had the clear touches of a home being built. "Look, Sophia!" Lucas pointed excitedly to a wall. In what used to be Michael's study, there are stars on the ceiling. Indeed, Michael had hired a specialized company to create a starry sky on the children's room ceiling with constellations that glowed in the dark. The walls, once in sober shades of gray, now displayed a soft gradient paint from blue to gold. "And this is your art corner." Michael showed Sophia a specially prepared area with an easel, paints, and drawing materials. The girl let go of his hand and ran to explore, the pink bunny held firmly in her arm. Regina observed everything with attentive eyes, making notes on her clipboard. She noticed the outlet covers, the protected corners on the furniture, the handrails installed at the children's height. "Come see my room, Sophia," Lucas called to his sister, already pulling her by the hand. His room had a different theme, with a garden motif and small animals painted on the walls. A low bed, specially chosen to facilitate his recovery, was positioned near the window. "And where's your office now?" Regina asked Michael. He pointed to a small corner of the living room where a modest desk replaced his former imposing mahogany one. "I don't need more than this, and I can work while keeping an eye on the children." A sudden cry interrupted the conversation. Sophia had spilled some paint on her new dress and was now looking fearfully at Michael. "Sorry, Dad," she sobbed. "I messed everything up." Michael approached calmly, kneeling beside her. "Hey, Princess, it's okay. Clothes can be washed. The important thing is you didn't get hurt." "But it was new," she continued crying. "Do you know what your mom used to do when she stained her clothes?" Michael asked, surprising even himself with the memory. "She turned the stains into drawings. Look." Gently he picked up a brush and, using the paint stain as a base, began to draw a flower on the dress. Sophia stopped crying, watching, fascinated. "Did Mommy do that?" Lucas asked, approaching curiously. "She did," Michael smiled, lost in thought. "Once she spilled coffee on an important presentation and turned the stain into a little kitten. Everyone in the meeting loved it so much, she started doing it on purpose." Sophia picked up another brush and, with her tongue between her teeth in concentration, began to add her own flowers to the dress. Soon, what was an accident had turned into a unique piece of art. "Now it's a magic dress," she declared, twirling around the room. Regina made a few more notes on her clipboard, but Michael noticed a small smile on her lips. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of discoveries. The children explored every corner of the apartment, making plans, imagining stories. Michael followed them, answering questions, helping when needed, but mostly observing how his children began to transform that space into a home. When evening came, Lucas was already showing signs of tiredness. Michael picked him up, noticing how he was still lighter than he should be. "Bath time and then bed," he announced. "We have more time to explore tomorrow." "But I'm not sleepy," Lucas protested, though his eyes were already heavy. "Pinky needs to rest too," Sophia argued wisely, holding the bunny. "He had a very busy day today." While helping the children with their bath, Michael realized his hands no longer trembled when dealing with simple tasks like washing hair or drying small bodies. Somehow, in just a few weeks, these gestures had become natural. "Dad," Sophia called as he helped her into her pajamas, "can we hang Mummy's picture here?" She pointed to an empty space on the wall between the two beds. Michael felt his heart skip a beat. "Of course, Princess. We'll put it up tomorrow." "And can it be the one where she's holding Pinky?" Lucas asked, already lying in his bed. "It can be all the pictures you want," Michael promised, tucking his children in. Regina, watching from the door, made her final notes before preparing to leave. Before she could announce her departure, she heard Sophia ask, "Dad, tell Mommy's story, but today, tell the part about when she turned the coffee stain into a kitten." Michael sat between the two beds, the pink bunny in his lap, and began. "It was a very important day at the company." Regina silently closed the door, leaving the family to their moment. On her clipboard, the last note of the day simply read, "Home, approved." Autumn arrived, bringing new challenges. Lucas was stronger, but doctor's appointments were still frequent. Sophia was starting her new school next week, and the girl's anxiety was palpable in the house. "What if the other kids don't like Pinky?" she asked during breakfast, listlessly stirring her cereal. Michael, who now had breakfast at a real kitchen table instead of his old marble countertop, smiled at his daughter. "Want to know a secret? Your mom took Pinky to college on her first day." Sophia's eyes widened. "Really?" "Really," Michael confirmed, lost for a moment in the memory. "She kept him in her bag for good luck on exams." Lucas, who was more talkative every day, joined the conversation. "And did it work?" "Always," Michael replied, pouring more juice for his son. "Your mum was the brightest student in her architecture program." The moment was interrupted by Regina's arrival, who now made weekly visits. She carried a thicker than usual folder under her arm. "Good morning, family," she greeted, accepting the coffee Michael offered. It was impressive how he had learned to make a house function in such a short time. "Regina," Sophia ran to hug her. "Look at the new uniform Dad bought." The social worker appropriately admired the school uniform Sophia had insisted on wearing even days before school started. "Very nice," she praised, then turned to Michael. "Can we talk?" In the makeshift office, Regina opened her folder. "The judge has set the hearing for next week." Michael felt his stomach churn. Even with all the progress, with all the positive reports, the final decision on custody still terrified him. "Michael," Regina continued, her voice softer, "I need you to be prepared. Beatrice's mother is still making noise in the media. She's gotten some statements from your former employees, people who say you were difficult." "I was," he admitted, running a hand through his hair. "Obsessive, controlling, live for work. But that was before the children," Regina completed. "I know. Everyone who interacts with you now knows. But the judge will want concrete evidence of this change." A noise from the kitchen drew their attention. Returning, they found Lucas trying to clean up spilled milk, while Sophia helped him with napkins. "Sorry, Dad," Lucas mumbled, clearly expecting a scolding. Michael knelt beside his children, helping with the cleanup. "It's okay, champ. Accidents happen." "But I made a mess," the boy insisted, tears in his eyes. "Hey!" Michael held his son's face between his hands. "You know what your mom used to say, that the best stories start with a mess." Sophia, already an expert at turning accidents into art, grabbed a clean napkin and started drawing on it with a marker. "Look, Lucas, now it's a lake with ducklings." Regina watched the scene, making discreet notes. The Michael Anderson she had met at the hospital months ago would have exploded over such a mess. This man, however, was sitting on the kitchen floor, drawing ducks with his children on milk-stained napkins. "Dad," Sophia called after the mess was cleaned up, "tell Regina that story about Mommy and the cake that exploded in the oven." Michael laughed, getting up to make more coffee. Helena was brilliant at many things, but cooking wasn't one of them. Once, she decided to bake a cake for my birthday. As he narrated the story, Regina noticed how the children, even having heard it several times, paid full attention, laughing at the right moments, completing some parts. "And then," Michael continued, "instead of getting mad, she picked up a piece of the exploded cake and said, 'Well, at least now we have modern art in the kitchen.' Just like I did with the dress," Sophia exclaimed proudly. "Just like you did with the dress," Michael confirmed, kissing the top of his daughter's head. Regina closed her folder, her decision made. "Michael, how about you tell me more about Helena? For the final report, I think the judge needs to understand not only who you are now, but also how her love still shapes this family." Michael looked at his children, at the pink bunny that now had a place of honor on the living room shelf, at the photos of Helena that adorned the walls, not hidden in a drawer, but celebrated as a vital part of that home. "You know, Regina," he began, pouring her another cup of coffee, "I think I'm only now truly getting to know Helena, through our children's eyes, through the stories they keep, through the love she planted in them. And every day, I discover she was even more extraordinary than I thought." Sophia climbed into her father's lap, the pink bunny in her arms. Tell the first story, Dad, about how you met in the rain. Again? He teased, but he was already smiling. All right. It was a day very much like today. Regina discreetly turned on her recorder. That story, she knew, would be the final piece of her report. Because it wasn't just the story of how Michael met Helena, it was the story of how he was learning to be a father, to be family, to turn a house into a home. And it all began, always, with a pink bunny in the rain. Sophia's first day of school coincided with the week of the hearing. Michael adjusted the pink backpack on his daughter's small shoulders, making sure for the third time that she had everything she needed. "Pinky will be right here," Sophia said, showing a special pocket Michael had sewn into the backpack, where only the bunny's head peeked out. "That way he can give me good luck like he did for Mommy." Lucas, who still couldn't go back to school, on doctor's orders, watched the scene with a touch of envy. "I wish I could go too." "Soon you will," Michael promised, ruffling his son's hair. "For now, how about being my special assistant in the home office?" The boy's face lit up. Michael had discovered that Lucas loved helping with small tasks, feeling important when he could organize papers or deliver messages to Marcia over the intercom. At the school gate, however, Sophia's confidence began to waver. Her small hands clutched the backpack strap tightly. What if someone asks about Mommy?" she whispered. Michael knelt in front of his daughter, ignoring the curious glances from other parents. He knew some recognized him from the papers, that they were commenting on the millionaire and his secret children. "Sophia," he began softly, "your mom is always with you. In your heart, in the stories you tell, in the pinky she gave you. If anyone asks, you can tell them about her with pride." "But it hurts a little to talk about her," the girl admitted, her large eyes full of unshed tears. Michael felt his heart clench. "You know, Princess, sometimes it does hurt, but your mom always said that the most important stories are the ones that make us feel something deep inside." He lightly touched his daughter's chest. "Like when you tell her stories?" Sophia asked. "Exactly," he smiled. "And look, you're already an expert at turning sad things into art. Remember the dress?" Sophia smiled shyly, her hand going to the pocket where the bunny was. "Will Pinky help me if I get sad?" "Always," Michael assured her. "And when you get back, we'll do something special to celebrate your first day." "With paint?" Her eyes sparkled. "With lots of paint," he promised, kissing her forehead. He watched as Sophia walked hesitantly towards her teacher, the pink bunny peeking from her backpack like a silent guardian. When she turned to give a final little wave, Michael felt the tears he'd been holding back escape. Back in the car, where Lucas was waiting, his phone rang. It was Regina. "Michael, we have a problem. Beatrice's ex-mother-in-law managed to get a motion approved to testify at the hearing." He closed his eyes, exhausted. "What more does she want, Regina? Aren't the stories she fabricated for the papers enough?" "She claims to have proof that you always knew about Helena's pregnancy," Regina explained. "Says she has emails, documents." "Impossible," Michael cut in. "I never—" He stopped abruptly, an old memory surfacing. Helena, sitting on a hospital bed after fainting at work, trying to tell him something important. He, on the phone, discussing a multi-million-dollar acquisition. "We'll talk later," he had said. "I can't right now." "Michael?" Regina's voice brought him back. "Are you okay?" "No," he admitted, glancing in the rearview mirror at Lucas, who was playing distractedly with a toy car. "But I will be, because now I understand what Helena tried to show me all those years, that some things are more important than contracts and meetings." "The hearing is in 3 days," Regina reminded him. "We need to be prepared for—" "Regina," Michael interrupted gently, "do you know what Sophia asked me today? If it would hurt to talk about her mom at school. And you know what I realized? That yes, it does hurt. It hurts to know I failed Helena, that I lost precious years with my children. But now I understand that this pain is part of our story. And I'm not going to run from it anymore." There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. "That," Regina finally said, "that is exactly what the judge needs to hear. Not Michael Anderson, the businessman, but the father you've become." "Dad," Lucas called from the back seat, "can I draw too when Sophia gets back?" Michael smiled into the rearview mirror. "Of course you can, champ. We're going to make the biggest, artistic mess this house has ever seen." "Like Mommy used to do?" the boy asked hopefully. "Just like Mommy used to do," Michael confirmed, feeling that familiar mix of joy and pain in his chest. "And you know what? I think she'll love seeing us from heaven turning another mess into art." The courtroom seemed smaller than Michael had imagined. Sitting next to his lawyer, he adjusted the tie Sophia had chosen for him that morning for the 10th time, light blue, because it matches the sky where Mommy is. The children were with Charles, waiting in the hallway. Michael could still hear Sophia's voice, explaining to her brother for the 5th time how Pinky was going to bring Dad luck, just like he did for her at school. Regina sat a few rows behind, her folder of reports on her lap. When her eyes met Michael's, she offered a small, encouraging smile. The entrance of Beatrice and her mother, Sandra Hayes, caused a stir in the room. The social columnist was impeccably dressed and made up, as if posing for one of her gossip columns. Michael always knew about the children. Sandra began her testimony with a dramatic voice. Helena tried to tell him several times, "I have sources that confirm—" "Sources?" Michael's lawyer interrupted. "Do you have concrete proof of these allegations, Miss Hayes?" Sandra hesitated for a moment. "I have witnesses who—" Witnesses who have never come forward," the lawyer completed. "Just like the alleged emails you mentioned to the press were never produced." The judge, a middle-aged man with shrewd eyes, leafed through Regina's reports as he listened. "Ms. Hayes," he intervened, "what exactly is your interest in this case?" "Interest? Why, only the truth," she exclaimed. "Michael Anderson abandoned my daughter to play daddy with 2 children who appeared out of nowhere." "Out of nowhere?" Michael's voice was louder than he intended. "May I speak, Your Honor?" The judge nodded and Michael stood up. His hands trembled slightly, but his voice was firm. "These children didn't appear out of nowhere. They are the most precious gift Helena left me, even if I was too blind to see it when I had the chance. And yes, I failed. I failed Helena. I failed my children. I failed as a husband and as a father before I even had the chance to be one." He paused, taking something from his jacket pocket. It was an old photo creased at the edges. "This photo was taken the day I gave Helena the pink bunny. She kept it for years, then passed it on to our children, along with all the stories of our love. A love I didn't know how to value, that I suffocated with meetings and contracts." Sandra snorted audibly, but the judge silenced her with a look. "When I found Sophia and Lucas on that rainy night," Michael continued, "it wasn't a coincidence. It was Helena, through that same pink bunny, giving me a second chance, the chance to be the father she always knew I could be." He turned to Sandra and Beatrice. "I'm sorry if I hurt anyone in the process, but for the first time in my life, I'm not making decisions based on profits or status. I'm choosing to be a father. I'm choosing to honor Helena's memory through the love for our children." The judge leafed through a few more reports before speaking. "Mr. Anderson, how do you intend to reconcile the presidency of a major corporation with raising 2 young children, one of whom is still recovering medically?" "I've already addressed that, Your Honor," Michael replied. "I've transferred executive control of the company to my vice president. I retain only an advisory role, which I can perform from home. My priority now is my children." He's throwing away a billion-dollar company, Sandra exclaimed. No, Miss Hayes, the judge corrected. From what I see in these reports, he's building a family. At that moment, a loud cry came from the hallway. Michael recognized it immediately. It was Lucas. Your Honor, he asked, already rising. May I? The judge nodded, and Michael rushed out of the room. He found Lucas sobbing in Charles's arms, while Sophia tried to console him with the pink bunny. Hey, champ. Michael knelt beside his son. What happened? He's scared, Sophia explained seriously. Like I was on the first day of school. Scared. They'll take us away from you. Michael scooped Lucas into his arms, bringing Sophia close too. No one is going to take you away. Do you know why? Both children shook their heads. Because now we're a family, and families stay together, right? Mommy taught us that. Lucas sniffled, still clinging to his father's neck. Promise? I promise on Pinky, Michael replied solemnly, making Sophia smile through her tears. Regina, who had stepped out to see what was happening, watched the scene with tear-filled eyes. She returned to the courtroom, determined. This family had already endured too many separations. The judge asked to see the children. Michael entered the courtroom holding Lucas, and with Sophia clutching his free hand, the pink bunny held firmly in her arms. The silence was absolute. Hello, the judge smiled gently, adjusting his glasses. You must be Sophia and Lucas. Would you like to sit up here with me for a little bit? Sophia looked at Michael, who nodded encouragingly. With hesitant steps, she approached, pulling her brother by the hand. That's a very nice bunny, the judge commented. Does he have a name? Pinky, Sophia replied, her voice small but firm. He belonged to our mommy. Daddy gave him to her the day they met. Sandra Hayes made a disdainful sound, but the judge ignored her, focusing on the children. And what's it like living with your dad? He asked softly. Lucas, usually so shy, was the first to answer. He tells us mommy's stories every night, and he lets us paint on the bedroom wall. Only in the special corner, Sophia hurried to explain, making some of the adults chuckle. And he makes breakfast with bare faces on the toast. Just like mommy used to, Lucas added excitedly. The judge smiled. And are you happy? Sophia hugged the bunny to her chest before answering. Now we are, because we found mommy's prince just like she said would happen. Prince? The judge asked, curious. That's what mommy called Daddy, Sophia explained. She left Pinky with us and said one day he would lead us to her prince. And he did, in the rain, just like in the story of how they met. Michael felt tears stream down his face. Regina discreetly passed him a tissue. And you know, Sophia continued, now more serious, sometimes Daddy cries when he tells Mommy's stories, but Grandma said crying is good, that it means you loved someone very much. Lucas nodded solemnly. And Daddy loved Mommy very much, just like we do. Sandra Hayes stood up abruptly. This is ridiculous. These children have clearly been coached on what to say. The judge silenced her with a firm gesture, but it was Sophia who responded. Mommy said we should never lie, not even when we're playing, because lies hurt people's hearts. She hugged the bunny tighter. And Pinky doesn't let anyone lie either. He's magic. Michael had to restrain himself from running to his children and hugging them right there. How had Helena managed, in so little time, to instill so much wisdom in these children? The judge slowly closed his folder, taking off his glasses before speaking. I believe I've seen enough. The entire room held its breath. Ms. Hayes, he began, your accusations lack legal standing or concrete proof. They are, at best, attempts at personal revenge that have no place in this courtroom. Sandra opened her mouth to protest, but the judge continued. Furthermore, the reports from social worker Regina Wallace are overwhelmingly positive. Mr. Anderson has not only provided a safe and nurturing environment for the children, but has also demonstrated a remarkable personal transformation. He turned to Michael. You made mistakes in the past, it's true, but you are clearly committed to correcting them through actions, not just words. Sophia and Lucas ran back to their father, who hugged them tightly. And most importantly, the judge continued, smiling at the children, the emotional bond that already exists between you is evident. It would be cruel to separate this family. Now, Michael could hardly believe what he was hearing. So, full custody is granted, the judge declared, with one condition. Anything, Michael replied promptly. The judge smiled. Continue telling your children these stories. Their mother's memory deserves to be preserved with such love. Sophia jumped for joy, making the bunny dance in the air. Did you hear, Pinky? We did it, just like Mommy said would happen. Lucas hugged his father's legs, sobbing with joy. Michael knelt, taking both children into his arms, not caring about the tears now streaming freely down his face. Regina approached, her own eyes moist. Congratulations, Anderson family. Anderson family. How different those words sounded now. Dad, Sophia called, holding up the bunny. I think Pinky is crying happy tears too. Michael kissed the top of his daughter's head. You know, Princess, I think Mommy is crying happy tears in heaven too. And smiling, Lucas added softly. Just like in the pictures. Michael looked at his children, at the pink bunny that had started it all, and finally understood. Helena had never really left. She was there, in Sophia's smile, in Lucas's strength, in the stories that were now theirs, in the little everyday magic she had taught the children. And now, finally, he too was part of that magic. The celebration after the hearing took place in the most unlikely of places, the Andersons' apartment kitchen. Michael, still in his suit but with his sleeves rolled up, was trying to make bunny-shaped pancakes, much to the children's delight. It looks more like a dog, Lucas laughed, already recovered from the morning's emotions. It's an abstract bunny, Michael defended himself, making Sophia giggle. Regina and Charles watched the scene, sharing a coffee. The social worker had stayed at the children's insistence, who claimed she was part of the family now. You know, Charles commented quietly, Helena always said there was goodness inside him, that it just needed the right chance to blossom. Regina nodded, watching as Michael now let the children try to make their own pancakes, despite knowing the mess it would cause. Dad! Sophia called proudly. Look, I made a Pinky pancake. The girl's culinary creation barely resembled a bunny, but Michael reacted as if it were a masterpiece worthy of a museum. Incredible, Princess. Should we take a picture to keep? Wait, Lucas asked. Let me make one too. Soon the kitchen was a chaos of flour and laughter. Michael's cell phone, once his constant extension, lay forgotten somewhere in the house. Michael, Regina called softly, there's one last document I need you to sign. He approached, wiping his hands on the apron Sophia had chosen for him, pink, of course, to match the bunny. More custody papers? No, she smiled. It's the official record of the children's name change. They are now, legally, Sophia Helena Anderson and Lucas Helena Anderson. Michael felt his vision blur with tears. Helena, her name, now an official, part of his children's identity. It was their idea, Charles explained. Sophia said that way Mommy would always be with them, even at school roll call. Dad? Lucas approached, his little face smudged with flour. Are you crying again? Happy tears, son, Michael replied, pulling the boy into a hug. Just like when Mommy cried the day she got Pinky. Remember that story? Tell it again, Sophia begged, rushing to join the hug. Oh, but don't you know that story by heart already? Michael teased. But it's different every time you tell it, Lucas argued. Because every time we discover something new about Mommy. Regina picked up her bag, discreetly preparing to leave. Her official duties were done, but something made her pause at the kitchen door. "So," Michael began, sitting on the floor with the children, "it was a rainy day, very much like the one when I found you. And Mommy was late for her meeting," Sophia completed excitedly. "That's right, and I was waiting, all nervous, when I saw a young woman running in the rain." "With a broken umbrella," Lucas added. Michael laughed. "Exactly, and do you know what she did when the umbrella turned inside out?" "She started laughing," the children chorused. "That's when I knew," Michael continued, his voice soft, "that this woman who laughed at her own misfortune in the middle of the rain was special. Then I saw a street vendor with Pinky." Sophia hugged the bunny, who watched everything from his special place on the table. "And when I gave the bunny to her," Michael paused dramatically. "She cried happy tears," Lucas concluded triumphantly. "And said I was a prince," Michael completed. "But you know what? I think she always knew that one day this pink bunny would bring us back together, would make our family complete again." Regina quietly closed the door, leaving the family with their stories and lopsided pancakes. In the hallway, she could still hear the laughter and excited voices completing each part of the story they already knew by heart. In her folder, the final official report simply stated, "Case closed, family successfully reconstituted." But Regina knew this was much more than a case. It was a love story that began with a pink bunny in the rain and continued every day through small moments of everyday magic. In the Anderson apartment, Michael was now trying to teach the children how to make napkin bunnies, while the real Pinky watched everything from his place of honor, as he had always done since Helena's time. Some stories, after all, never truly end. They just gain new chapters, new smiles, new tears of joy. 3 months later, on a Saturday morning, Michael woke up to laughter coming from the kitchen. He found Sophia and Lucas bent over the table, concentrating on something he couldn't see. "What are you two up to?" he asked, trying to peek. "You can't see yet," Sophia exclaimed, covering the mysterious project with her hands. "It's a surprise." Lucas, now fully recovered and full of energy, jumped up from his chair. "Close your eyes, Dad." Michael obeyed, smiling. He heard movements, whispers, a muffled giggle. "You can open them," the children announced in unison. On the kitchen table was a handmade photo album, decorated with colorful drawings and collages. On the cover, in letters carefully painted by Sophia, read, "The story of Pinky and our family." "My teacher asked us to do a project about our family," Sophia explained, practically bouncing with excitement. "So I thought, why not tell the whole story?" Michael sat down, pulling his children close. The first page showed an old photo of him and Helena, the pink bunny between them. "Charles helped us find the old photos," Lucas explained. "And we drew the parts we didn't have pictures for." Page by page, the story unfolded. There were drawings of the rain, the broken umbrella, the first meeting, photos of a pregnant Helena holding the bunny, drawings of the children with their grandmother. And then, "This is from the night you found us." Sophia pointed to a detailed drawing of 2 children in the rain, a pink bunny shining like a star between them. The following pages showed recent photos: Lucas in the hospital with the bunny, Sophia on her first day of school, the 3 of them making pancakes in the kitchen. In every image, Pinky appeared, and a silent constant, guardian of their memories. "And look at this one, Dad." Lucas pointed excitedly to a collage that mixed an old photo of Helena smiling with a drawing of his own, where everyone was together, including an angelic figure. "In the sky, the teacher said it was beautiful," Sophia commented proudly, and that she'd never seen such a special story. Michael gently ran his fingers over the pages, feeling the texture of the drawings, the care in every detail. But there's still a blank page at the end, he noticed. That's for us to keep writing. Our story, Lucas explained, because it's not over. Sophia nodded solemnly. Mommy always said the best stories don't have an end, just new chapters. Michael pulled his children into a tight hug, his heart overflowing with love. On the kitchen counter, the pink bunny watched the scene, just as it had so many years ago when a young Helena had first hugged him in the rain. "Dad," Sophia called softly, "do you think Mommy would like the album?" Michael looked at his children, at the love and creativity they had poured into every page, at the way they had transformed their story, with all its pain and joy, into something so beautiful. "I'm sure she's loving it, Princess," he replied, wiping away a tear. "Because you did exactly what she always did. You turned memories into art, sadness into colors, longing into love." Lucas picked up the bunny and brought him into the group hug. "And Pinky helped, right?" "He did," Michael confirmed. "He guided us here, just as your mother planned." Sophia opened the album to the last blank page. "Should we draw another one of all of us together today?" "With Pinky too," Lucas insisted. "With Pinky too," Michael agreed, picking up the colored pencils. As they drew together, filling another piece of their story with colors and love, Michael thought about how life took extraordinary turns. The man who had once lived only for work now found his greatest joy in Saturday mornings drawing with his children. The pink bunny, a little more faded with time but still steadfast in his mission, remained there as a silent witness. He was more than a toy. He was the thread connecting their story, the keeper of their memories, the gift of love Helena had left to guide them back to each other. And so, on that Saturday morning, as three pairs of hands drew together on the last page of the album, another chapter was completed. Not an ending, as Sophia had wisely pointed out, but a new beginning. Because the best stories, those truly special ones, are like love. They have no end, only new chapters to be written, new moments to be lived, new memories to be transformed into art. And somewhere, Helena smiled.